Okay, a big stress by our online clients is what to do when you have social events on, when you have a big night out plan, when you have a hands, a stag do, a wedding on the cards, and you don't want to let it stuff up your progress. Okay, there's a few things we can do. First, I want you to remember that you can't get fat in one meal. One meal doesn't make you skinny, one meal doesn't make you fat. So, in essence, to gain fat, it takes you to consume 3,500 calories over your maintenance, and that will just cause you to gain half a kilo of fat, which is why fat gain is very gradual. So to get your maintenance calories, if you just see what I gave you as a calorie deficit, added 500 calories to that, that's your maintenance. Now you need to eat 3,500 calories over that to gain half a kilo. Okay, so fat gain doesn't really happen in a day or two necessarily, and more happens over a week. So if we're eating constantly 500 calories over for a week, then we might gain half a kilo, but for a day or two it's not necessarily the case. So I always want you to remember this, especially when you see the scales go up, because normally when we're on a plan, when we're losing fat, we're not really storing a lot of glycogen or carbohydrates or energy. So carbohydrates are turned into glycogen and they're stored as energy in our muscles. For every gram of carb that is stored, it's stored with 3 grams of water. Okay, so think of your body as a storage in your muscles, all that energy is stored. So when we're losing fat, we're obviously depleting that glycogen and we're trying to use fat as energy. However, if someone goes, and this happens on the weekends where we may eat a little bit more foods containing carbohydrates, or you have a big meal out or a big 2 days, you're probably going to store more carbohydrates, glycogen, energy in your muscles with water. So don't be surprised if the scale goes up by a kilo, 2 kilos, 3 kilos. That is just water weight. That will come down normally 5 to 7 days once you go back to a normal depletion phase. And again, if we look at UFC fighters, they do this perfectly, where they'll deplete themselves, weigh in, and then a day after they'll go in the ring 5 to 7 kilos heavier simply by refueling that carbohydrates. So that's the first thing. Don't stress out, because that's when people really lose the run. They step on the scales, they see it's gone up, and then they go, oh, fuck it, you know what, I'm just going to give up. That's when you'll start to gain it, but it's not in a day or two. So there's some other little strategies we can use to still stay in a deficit if that's the case. We can pre-plan or pre-track our meals. If you're going for a meal out, and again, it may seem drastic, but it's pretty smart. It's the same you would with your savings. You can have a look at the menu. You can decide what you're going to have. You can track that in MyFitnessPal, and then you can just see what you're left with that day. So if you're going to have a big meal out, you're going to have a starters, main, desserts, some drinks, that may be the majority of your calories. So it's not crazy to even go fast the whole day or have something really light. Save all your calories for that meal. You can go hard and you've still stayed in a deficit, and it's a win-win situation. Okay. What we can also do is bank calories, as in save calories throughout the week, so we can do this a few days ahead of time. Whether it's a meal out, whether it's a day or two wedding, okay, we can have a look and estimate, if we can, by looking at menus, or just guesstimate if you can, how many calories we're going to have, okay, and then from the week before we can save, say, 400 or 500 calories, depending on how big your calorie deficit is, each day. So if we save 500 calories for 5 days, now we're left with 2,500 calories extra to play with either that day or the day after, or between both. So if it's a Saturday, Sunday, now we have over 1,200 calories for Saturday and 1,200 calories for Sunday. Okay. Or what you can do, you can just act normal the week before. You can have your day, or if it's a day or two, whatever it is, and then on the Monday or after that, you can track your calories, see how many, again, guesstimate how many you can consume, and then adjust the following week down. So if you went over by 2,500, you can simply take off whatever 500 calories each day for the next 5 days, so it averages out. But what I want you to get across is the average. The average over a week, the average over 2 weeks. If you're in a deficit over a 7-day period, you'll lose fat, okay? This means you can have a higher day followed by a lower day, but if they average out, you are going to lose fat because you're going to be in a calorie deficit. That's what I want you to get across, okay? And the last thing, what we want to do, especially when there's alcohol involved, because alcohol is just going to make us crave for fattier foods, especially the next day. What we want to do, especially if our calorie deficit isn't that big and we can't really afford to save a lot of calories in the following days, is we want to get straight back into our routine. So if you go have a big day out on the Saturday, get back onto your Sunday, get your steps in, prepare your meals, and be aware you may crave a bit fattier foods, but just get straight back on board. It's the carryover that kills people, especially when there's alcohol and stuff involved. We'll talk about in the previous modules. It's not the drink alone, it's that you crave more higher calorie food, and that's also in combination with lower activity. So don't let it carry over, get straight back on board. Remember, any weight you've gained is water weight, and focus on the averages and you will be fine. Enjoy yourself, and this will give you a nice way to have a flexible approach to your fat loss and nutrition. Enjoy life, look unbelievable. It's a win-win situation.